Reno travels all around the world. I hope you get inspired about what you see. Apostle of greatness, Reno is a master. Only one man against the whole world in large. Fighting with the monsters, poverty I can't stand. That's why Reno is.
Thank you for joining me on my masterclass. Now today we are talking about why you are poor and what to do to escape that poverty. Now that's why you are poor and what to do to escape that poverty. Now according to the Brookings Institute, it says wealth and prosperity, poverty and lack are more a function of your neighborhood, the neighborhood that you live in, than of your gender, your race, your religion, or your ethnicity. You think about that. Now, those things, they do matter. It's not like they don't matter. But the Brookings Institute, and you know, the Brookings Institute is a world-renowned research firm. Now, they're saying that your locality, your neighborhood, where you live matters more than any of these things. And then there's a graph. You know, it's going to flash up on the screen. You're going to see how your neighborhood affects your upward mobility in life. You know, it's a serious factor in your upward mobility in life. And there you have it. So you have to understand that it's important, you know, that you live in the right place. And here's the thing, you know, move out of a low rent district. Even if you have to stay in a room in a high rent district, you got to move out of a low rent district. You know, it's so important because you're not just renting space, you're actually renting neighbors, you're renting people. So what's happening is that you are influencing and you're being influenced by your neighbors. You're exchanging spirits with your neighbors because you have to understand that you are the function of the 5 people that you hang around with the most. And so where you live, you see, it's so important. I can't overemphasize this because it affects the opportunities that you get in life. It affects the opportunities that you see in life. I'll give you an example. Now, perhaps that you are living in a low-rent district, you're not going to see as many opportunities, like maybe job opportunities, business opportunities, as in a high-rent area. So if you're living probably in a high-rent area, you're going to see like maybe opportunities, ads for jobs, you know, like you're going to see like maybe in your church, you're going to hear conversations that will help your upward mobility, or maybe in a club. Now, some of you might say, oh, well, all those things don't matter anymore. We are living in a world where the internet has connected everybody. But you have to understand that employers, you know, they ask where you live. They want to know where you live. So for instance, maybe you see a job opportunity in a high rent area and you're able to see it online, and then you apply. On your resume, what some people call a CV in other parts of the world, they want your address. And then a lot of times employers are wanting people who live within a 25-mile radius of where the employment opportunities are. So they want to see your address, they want to see how far you are to the place, because it's going to affect your commute, and your commute is going to affect your mood, it's going to affect your performance. So some people might say, okay, well, you know what, I can lie. I'm going to say that I lived in the high rent district. Things have changed, times have changed, and you have to change with the times. Nowadays, employers, they're asking for proof of address. They want a utility bill, they want a bank statement with your address in it. So it's a lot of things are affected. It's not just like you're living in that area. You know, where you live, you know, it affects you more than you know. You know, even when you're born, you know, the first 5 years of your life, your neighborhood that you live in affects you so much. You know, even you can tell, you know, like where a person was brought up. They've got people, you know, that they can actually psychoanalyze you, and then they tell what kind of neighborhood you were brought up in. You know, for instance, you know, they look at you, they look at the way you speak. Like maybe you say I'm going somewhere instead of I am or I'm. And then they can tell, oh, this person grew up in a low rent district. Or maybe like, you know, just little things like a word like wow. You know, wow. And then they look at you and you say, instead of wow, you say, wow, wow. You know, just little things like that. You know, it actually affects you. And then it turns on people, it turns off people. You know, it's very, very important. You see, another thing you have to understand is that your neighborhood, you know, subliminally affects your perception to wealth. So it affects the way you perceive wealth. So maybe you're living in a low rent district and you get about $1,000. Sometimes you might just feel like, oh, you've arrived. You know, you might feel like you've arrived, that you are a king, because automatically that $1,000 makes you better than a lot of your neighbors. So you know, you feel satisfied. You feel like you've arrived. And then in a high rent district, you get $1,000. Like it's nothing. You see that your neighbors, like $1,000. Your neighbors are even $100,000. It doesn't really. It's not much in that neighborhood. So it changes your perspective to wealth. Living in a high rent area, you get $1,000. It challenges you to want to get more because you're subliminally affected by your neighbors. You see, in Nigeria, they have a generator, and that generator, they call it, I am better than my neighbor. I am better than my neighbor. Now, it sounds like a joke, but it begins to tell you the kinds of subliminal influencing that goes on. People compete with their neighbors. People strive, with their neighbors. People use their neighbors as a standard. So when you're living in a low rent district, the standards are low. When you're living in a high rent district, the standards are high. Now, obviously, I'm not saying that you must live above your income. But what I'm telling you is that try your possible best to move out of a low rent district. It's better to be a servant in heaven than to be a king in hell. Now, I know this sounds, like very, very draconian. It sounds very, very, painful for you to hear, but it's the truth. It's the kind of world that we live in. Even your children, it's going to affect the kind of opportunities that your children get in life, because in low rent districts, the schools are probably subpar. They're not as good as the schools that you'll find in a high rent district. I'm talking about public schools. I'm not even talking about private schools. So the public schools that you're going to get in a low rent district, they're going to be subpar. The teachers you're going to get are going to be people from the community. So most likely it's going to be subpar compared to schools that you're going to find in a high rent district. And then your children, you see, the first 5 years of your life, from 0 to 5, is what they call your emotional scripting years. So you're being emotionally scripted. So for those first 5 years of your life, it's going to affect the kinds of things that you're willing to accept in life. It's going to affect your paradigm. It's going to affect what you accept, how you view life. And so it's very, very important that for your children, that for the first 5 years of their life, they're living in a high rent district where they can go to good schools, where they can mix with people who have the kinds of aspirations and ambitions that you would want your children to have. And then so their peers, look at that word, peers, the peer pressure, the mechanism, is going to be driving them to achieve more. It's not going to make them just accept their situation, because you have to understand, the best friends are not friends that accept you. A lot of times, even with music, with in places that you go to, they tell you accept people for who they are. No. You see, you want friends, you want peers that love you for who you are, but then they push you to reach your potential. They push you to be better than what you are. And that's what happens in a high rent district. So it's so important. It's very, very important, because one of the things you have to understand, you might say to yourself, okay, well, I've been to high rent districts, people tend to mind their businesses. Well, that's not strictly true. When you're living in a high rent district, okay, you go for church services or you go to a mosque in that high rent district. So in those kinds of environments, you're forced to mingle with people. Or you have a social club, maybe there's a badminton club, a tennis club, or just maybe a neighborhood club. You go there and then you're forced to mingle with the people. You go to a supermarket or a grocery store, you mingle with people. And then they talk. Very soon you're making friends with somebody and they're talking and the person says, oh, you know what, I have this business or I need this service. And right there, that's an opportunity for you, an opportunity that you will not get in a low rent area. A lot of things come with the environment that you live in. Even if you look at scripture, you see Abraham had to leave his environment to go to a better environment, because God told him that if you stay in this environment, your people are going to drive you down. It's going to affect your faith. It's going to affect how you reason. So God asked Abraham to move from that environment. Yeshua, whom some people call Jesus Christ, he had to move from where he was born to where he grew up, and then eventually to another place. So it's so important. You see, when you're living in a high rent district, even if you're living in a room, even if you're sharing maybe a flat, you're coming out, you're going to be, the kinds of messages that you're going to be hearing from people, maybe in a church, for instance, because even in churches and mosques, the kinds of messages that they teach in high-rent district is very, very different from the kinds of messages you're going to hear in the low-rent district. You know, you go to a low-rent district, they're talking about, you know, things like witches and wizards, financial breakthrough, you know, how you pray, you sow seed, and you're going to get money, you know, things. You have a lot of these kind of pastors and imams that prey on the poor. But when you go to when you go to a church, for instance, or a mosque in a high-rent district, you're not going to hear that kind of message, because the people there are not going to tolerate it, because they are very, very highly developed individuals. So you're not going to come there and then tell them about all this how would I call it now? You know, prosperity gospel. No, they want to know things about how to address, you know, like the challenges in their lives, their sinful nature, how to become better people, how to, you know, build up their character. And so you're going to see pure, at least better religion over there. So it's so important, if you want to escape poverty, if you want to improve your chances in life, if you want to be upwardly mobile, the most important thing that you need to do, and it's not just me saying it. Remember, I told you about the Brookings Institute. I mean, in the whole world, that is probably the #1 think tank. And then they're telling you your neighborhood matters. Move out of a low rent district, even if it means that you have to stay for at least temporarily in a smaller space. Move out of a low rent district. And that's the fastest way of changing your financial status in life. That's the fastest way of moving from poverty to prosperity, from moving from lack, you know, to having, you know. And if you don't do that, if you're going to stay in that place, not only is it going to affect you, it's going to affect your seed, it's going to affect your generation. That's why you see people talk about generational curses. There are no generational curses. There are generational bad habits, and those generational bad habits are tied to the neighborhood that you live in, the locality that you live in. Now, my name is Reno Omokri. I've tried to explain this in detail, but perhaps maybe I talk too fast, or perhaps maybe my accent is not is very different from yours, and you have questions. I would counsel you, put them in the comment section of this video that you're watching on YouTube or wherever you're watching it. And my staff are very, very good at curating comments. They're going to bring them to me. I will respond to your comments to the best of my ability. Now, I need to explain to you, I do not have a WhatsApp forum. I do not have a Telegram channel. I do not have a Gmail email address. Now, scammers have seen that my videos tend to go viral. And so what they do is that they create a number of fake YouTube profiles, and then they approach people in the comment section, offering them one-on-one mentoring, helplines, guidelines. I will make you wealthy. Please, those people are not for me. They've duped a number of people. Please don't let them dupe you. Everything I do for free, because I hate poverty, and it is my job, I believe, on earth to teach people how to prosper. My name is Reno Omokri. Once again, thank you for watching, and God bless you.